Hey there, and welcome to This Explainer. If you're a focused learner gearing up for CompTIA Security Plus Objective 2.4, you are in exactly the right place. To really defend a system, we've got to first accurately categorize the threats attacking it. So let's break down the indicators of malicious activity.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our threat escalation roadmap. What is malicious code? Viruses, worms, and Trojans. Ransomware, spyware, and bloatware. Keyloggers and logic bombs. And finally, rootkits and system recovery.
What is malicious code? While IT pros often use these terms interchangeably in everyday conversation, there's actually a pretty important technical distinction you need to grasp for the exam. Malicious code refers specifically to software performing unauthorized actions on a network. Think your traditional viruses, worms, and Trojans. Malware, well, that's the broader umbrella term. It basically encompasses the whole shebang. Any software designed to infiltrate or damage a system without the user's consent. Over the past few years, the security landscape and the Security Plus exam itself has really shifted focus. We're no longer just talking about classic viruses. It's about a massive, complex spectrum of unwanted software.
Section 2. Viruses, worms, and Trojans.
Let's compare the two most famous offenders, the virus and the worm. A computer virus is code that runs without your knowledge, but it has a massive limitation. It absolutely needs human help. It requires some sort of carrier file, and it needs explicit instructions to be executed by you, the user, to actually do its dirty work and replicate. A worm, on the other hand, completely different beast. A worm is autonomous and self-replicating. It doesn't need a carrier, and it sure doesn't wait for you to execute it. Instead, it actively scans for and exploits vulnerabilities and backdoors in operating systems to spread like wildfire across the network.
Now, if a virus does manage to trick a user into executing it, the symptoms are usually pretty obvious and super disruptive. You're going to see unusual system crashes or strange errors, maybe unknown files suddenly popping up, or your existing files being modified without you touching them. Crucially, your antivirus software might start throwing alerts, or worse, you might notice your security tools have just mysteriously disabled themselves. Really, your absolute best defense here comes down to robust anti-malware solutions, regular scanning, and, of course, practicing really safe email and downloading habits.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer, devastating speed of a worm compared to a virus. Think about this. In 2001, the Nimda worm, which, fun fact, is just admin spelled backward, propagated automatically through the internet, worldwide in just 22 minutes. It didn't wait for a single user to click anything. It just spread autonomously through network shares, mass emailing, and OS vulnerabilities, causing absolute havoc globally.
All right, now consider the Trojan horse, or just a Trojan. If a worm is a self-driving tank, the Trojan is a smooth-talking con artist. It appears to perform a totally normal, desirable function, but behind the scenes, it's secretly running malicious code. Now, Trojans aren't technically viruses, but they're incredibly easy to download by mistake, very often sneaking in via removable media, like USB flash drives. A classic red flag for a Trojan: picture a user complaining about their computer suddenly running incredibly slow, accompanied by a flurry of antivirus alerts, right after they installed some questionable program, like, say, a pirated software keygen from a random thumb drive they found in the parking lot.
Section 3. Ransomware, spyware, and bloatware.
Ransomware is a particularly devious and, honestly, serious threat. It completely restricts access to your computer system and demands a ransom, usually in a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, just to restore your access. This awful tactic of using encryption to lock you out of your own files is called crypto-viral extortion. And what's truly terrifying is how these threats are evolving. Back in the late 2010s, ransomware like WannaCry actually started propagating like worms. It scanned for and infected vulnerable systems by leveraging known Windows SMB vulnerabilities, which allowed it to spread with devastating speed. Other major nasty examples include NotPetya, SamSam, and BadRabbit.
Let's contrast two other types of unwanted software now: spyware and bloatware. Spyware is highly malicious. It is literally hiding in the background, secretly monitoring your activity, your keystrokes, your browsing habits. Indicators of this include unexpected system behavior, weird background processes, and critically, unusual network traffic patterns, because it's constantly sending your stolen data out to a remote server. Bloatware, however, that's usually just incredibly annoying. We have all been there, right? You buy a brand new PC only to find it stuffed with pre-installed software that just hogs your system resources. It might not be intentionally evil, but it heavily hinders your performance. You'll see it causing slow startups, heavy memory usage, and it's always those unfamiliar apps that are oddly impossible to fully remove.
Section 4. Keyloggers and logic bombs.
A keylogger does exactly what it sounds like. It logs every single keystroke you make. Threat actors use these to steal highly sensitive data, especially your passwords and login credentials. Interestingly, these can be small, physical hardware devices literally plugged in between the keyboard and the computer, or they can be entirely software-based programs. And while they are actually legal in some places for employers to monitor company computers, modern privacy regulations, like the EU's GDPR, have made keyloggers an extremely sensitive and controversial topic in the corporate world.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the sheer variety of software-based keyloggers. Take kernel-based keyloggers, for instance. These are incredibly powerful because they obtain root access to hide deep inside the operating system. They literally intercept your keystrokes right at the hardware kernel level, before your standard user mode applications even see them. This makes them incredibly difficult to detect. Beyond that, you've got API-based loggers compromising specific Windows functions, hypervisor-based loggers attacking entire virtual environments, and web-focused ones designed to grab your data right as you submit a form online. Some even use injected JavaScript tags or tamper directly with a web browser's memory tables. They are everywhere.
Next up, we have the logic bomb. This is malicious code inserted into software that just sits and waits. It kind of blurs the line between malware and a delivery system, because it's designed to initiate its payload, like a virus or a Trojan, only when very specific criteria are met. If it's programmed to trigger on a certain date or time, we call it a time bomb. You can think of a logic bomb as the evil cousin of the classic Easter egg. You know, while Easter eggs used to be harmless little hidden jokes inserted by developers, today's trustworthy computing standards strictly prohibit them, and that's exactly why anything hiding in the code undocumented is just a massive, unacceptable security risk.
Section 5. Rootkits and System Recovery.
Okay, so a rootkit gets its name from a combination of root, which means administrator, and kit. Its entire purpose in life is to gain administrator-level control over a system while remaining entirely undetected. So the crucial point to understand is this. A rootkit attempts to dig into the absolute lowest levels of your operating system. It targets the very components that start up before your anti-malware services even have a chance to load up. We're talking about the UEFI, the BIOS, the bootloader, or the kernel itself.
The real-world examples of rootkits are frankly terrifying. Take the Evil Maid attack, for example. That operates as a bootloader rootkit that can actually extract the encryption keys of a full-disk encryption system, no password required. Then there's the Alorion rootkit, which infected over 200,000 known computers. Alorion was particularly nasty because it hid directly in the master boot record, or MBR, alongside low-level system drivers. This is exactly why it's highly recommended to use a GPT partition instead of an MBR whenever you can, because GPT goes a long way in helping discourage these specific types of rootkit attacks. Here's the tricky part. Because rootkits load up before the OS, once that subversion takes place, your operating system simply cannot be trusted anymore. You can't even trust your antivirus program because the rootkit could literally be feeding it lies. Therefore, the absolute best way to identify an active rootkit is to look at the system from the outside in. You have to boot the computer using removable media, like a clean USB flash drive or a special rescue disk. Because the infected operating system isn't running, the rootkit isn't running either, making it way easier to finally detect. And this leads us to a very sobering reality for all security professionals. You can't save every computer. Because removing a rootkit is so incredibly difficult and honestly uncertain, IT technicians usually just resort to the nuclear option. First, you back up the important data, which might actually mean physically taking the hard drive out and slaving it to another clean system. Next, you completely wipe the drive and reinstall the operating system and all applications from scratch. Finally, to ensure absolutely nothing survived hidden in the hardware, you flash the UEFI or BIOS. It might seem extreme, but it takes way less time than hunting for invisible remnants, and it is literally the only way to verify the rootkit is 100% gone. Which brings us to the end of our analysis of these threat indicators. When you really stop and consider threats that can intercept your hardware before your system even turns on, it begs a rather unsettling question. Is your system truly yours, or is something hiding deep inside the kernel? Keep that trustworthy computing mindset razor sharp as you continue your Security Plus studies. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer on the indicators of malicious activity. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and keep learning.